This is their new sister and brother, Oliver. Oliver lost his family just...
There's something uniquely unsettling about the idea of home being the most dangerous place of all. That idea forms the heart of the upcoming psychological horror film Bring Her Back, the sophomore effort from directing duo Danny and Michael Philippou. After the breakout success of Talk to Me, which stunned horror fans with its raw energy and emotionally resonant themes, expectations are understandably sky-high for what the Philippou brothers will do next. This time around, instead of the dangers, lurking in peer pressure and the supernatural consequences of youthful curiosity, they're diving into the sinister depths of family, trauma, and the terrible void left behind by grief. Bring Her Back isn't just another horror film, it's shaping up to be a tightly woven, emotionally brutal, and stylistically distinct experience that could very well redefine the direction of modern psychological horror once again. The story centers around two siblings, Andy and Piper, who are thrust into a strange and unnerving new life after being placed into the foster care of a woman named Laura. Played by Billy Barrett and Sora Wong, Andy and Piper are not your typical horror protagonists. They're young, vulnerable, and still grappling with the emotional scars of whatever came before. Laura, played by the immensely talented Sally Hawkins, is far from a stereotypical villain. Her performance, if early buzz is anything to go by, walks a tightrope between fragile and frightening, desperate and dangerous. There's no mustache-twirling evil here. Instead, we see a woman teetering on the edge of reality, motivated by love and loss, and driven to unfathomable acts in pursuit of something she believes is healing. That gray moral area is where Bring Her Back thrives, pulling viewers into the uncomfortable space between sympathy and horror. Rather than leaning on jump scares and gore, the film is said to rely heavily on tone, pacing, and a creeping sense of dread. The Philippous, known for their kinetic camera work and bold choices, are rumored to take a more restrained and mature approach with this film. That doesn't mean the energy is gone, just that it's been honed. The scares are less about what jumps out from the shadows and more about what's slowly crawling up your spine as the story unfolds. It's horror through emotional tension, atmosphere, and the gut-punch realization that the line between love and obsession can be dangerously thin. It's the kind of horror that doesn't just stay with you, it gnaws at you long after the credits roll. The film was shot in South Australia, a location that's becoming increasingly favored for psychological horror due to its ability to evoke both beauty and isolation. The remote setting adds another layer to the siblings' experience. They're not just emotionally alone, they're physically cut off from the world, surrounded by dense bushland, shadowy corridors, and an eerie stillness that feels like it's hiding something terrible just out of frame. The cinematography, handled by Aaron McLiskey, reportedly emphasizes these qualities with a heavy reliance on natural lighting and wide static shots that linger just a bit too long. Every frame is constructed to create tension, from the way characters are positioned in the shot to how darkness slowly creeps across the screen, threatening to swallow everything in its path. Adding to this tension is the sound design. The film's audio is more than just ambient noise, it's an active participant in the story. Whispered voices, the creaking of floorboards, the sudden dead silence that follows a character's breath, it's all meticulously crafted to keep audiences on edge. The score isn't overpowering, but rather sits just under the surface, almost imperceptible until it swells to accentuate a moment of emotional or narrative intensity. That minimalist approach reflects the Philippou brothers' understanding of horror as an emotional journey, not just a series of terrifying events. It's about control of the scene, of the atmosphere, and of the audience's heartbeat. Sally Hawkins' casting as Laura is perhaps one of the most inspired choices in recent horror memory. Known for her emotionally layered performances in films like The Shape of Water and Happy-Go-Lucky, Hawkins brings a level of nuance to Laura that elevates the film's core conflict. She's not a monster, but a woman broken by loss, clinging to ritual and belief as a way to make sense of her reality. Her interactions with the children aren't overtly threatening at first, which makes the slow unraveling of her character all the more chilling. Viewers may find themselves pitying her one moment and recoiling in fear the next. That duality is what makes her performance so haunting. It reflects a truth about grief that many horror films shy away from. that it's not always loud, chaotic, or explosive. Sometimes it's quiet, methodical, and worse still, contagious. The dynamic between Andy and Piper is another highlight of the film. As siblings, their relationship becomes the emotional anchor in a narrative full of shifting allegiances and buried secrets. They don't always get along, but there's a real sense of love and protectiveness that feels authentic. As the story progresses and the stakes rise, the choices they make aren't just about survival. They're about saving each other from both external and internal threats. Billy Barrett and Sora Wong are reported to give deeply committed performances, tapping into the fear, confusion, and desperation that come with being thrust into an environment where nothing is as it seems. Their bond is tested in unimaginable ways, and it's their evolving connection that drives the emotional core of the film. The title, Bring Her Back itself, carries multiple meanings, and that ambiguity is deliberate. On the surface, it refers to Laura's desperate mission to reclaim something, or someone, she's lost. But on a deeper level, it touches on broader themes of grief and denial. What happens when the pain of losing someone becomes unbearable? How far would someone go to undo a tragic past? The title invites viewers to question the motives of every character. Who is the her that must be brought back? And at what cost? The answers, it seems, are wrapped in ancient rituals, psychological breakdowns, and the kind of horror that's rooted not in the supernatural, but in the human condition. Behind the camera, the Philippou brothers are maturing as storytellers. With Talk to Me, they burst onto the scene with raw, intense energy that mirrored the chaos of the teen protagonists. But with Bring Her Back, they're taking a more meditative, restrained approach. The film still features their signature sense of visual storytelling, but it's more measured, more deliberate. There's a confidence in this new direction, a willingness to let the story breathe, to allow silence and stillness to carry weight. That shift not only reflects their growth as filmmakers, but also aligns perfectly with the subject matter. After all, grief isn't a whirlwind. It's a slow, suffocating presence that never fully goes away. As more details emerge about the production and behind-the-scenes process, it becomes increasingly clear that Bring Her Back isn't aiming to just be another entry in the horror genre. It's reaching for something deeper, an exploration of psychological trauma wrapped in the skin of a supernatural thriller. Its horror is intimate, rooted in real emotions, and amplified by the terrifying unknown. It's a film designed not just to shock, but to make audiences feel uncomfortable in the most personal way. And in a cinematic landscape often dominated by loud, formulaic scares, Bring Her Back offers a refreshing, if unsettling, alternative.